afternoon and welcome back to Friday 15. So we have 15 minutes. Let's jump right in. So today, our topic today is digital evidence management. So if you work in security, it's very likely you will encounter a security incident. That's why they're hiring you. And the question is, what are you doing with all the stuff that goes into a security incident? So law enforcement, very obvious a use case for that. But think about, say, K through 12, two kids have a fist fight. You have video evidence of it. You want to bring in the magistrates. You want to bring in the parents. What are you doing with all that stuff? Another example, retail, shoplifting, or healthcare. That's a really big use case. Think about patient safety and all the documentation that goes into patient safety. So how are you collecting and organizing your incidents? So when I was talking about this topic with our security manager, he was telling me about a client that would get a USB drive, put the security footage on the USB drive, stick it on a manila folder with Scotch tape and file that away. And that's how they did it. So is there a better way? Our agenda today is pretty straightforward. What's wrong with doing it the bad way, so to speak? And then is there a way to make that mountain of digital evidence into a molehill reverse and make it more simple? So our guest today is Bob Curry. Welcome, Bob. Bob comes from Genetec. Hi.
Hi.
Okay.
Hi,
so
Dina. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. So before we begin, for those who are unfamiliar about Genetec, 30-second pitch. What makes Genetec awesome?
Well, wow. So Genetec, what makes us awesome is that we are a leader and innovator in the security technology space. Most customers know us from our amazing Omnicast video management platform. But we've grown so much more than that. And, we're really affecting all aspects of security technology, not just from the security, but also from the operations and intelligence space. What I'm here to talk about is a digital evidence management platform today to really sort of solve some of those challenges you laid out there, Dina.
Okay, so let's start off. Why not do the USB thing? Why not do it the bad way? What's wrong? What's wrong with clumsy?
Well, for starters, USB drives are fragile, right? They get lost. There's no audit trail. There's no accountability. Once you mail a USB drive, who knows what happens to it? You put a USB drive in that manila envelope, like you said, that accidentally gets tossed away. There's no retention around USB drives. When should the USB drive be removed? So USB drives also are kind of expensive. Let's face it.
Right.
I mean, they're buying a one gig now up to like a 256 gig. Managing those USB drives becomes a bit of a pain point for organizations, as well as the ability to sort of really have any type of metadata associated with that USB drive. It's just a file, and quite frankly, the amount of security cameras and associated digital evidence is growing exponentially every year. The cameras that you're procuring today, these are 4K cameras. They're not your analog cameras. So the sheer size of the digital evidence is grown to the point that a single USB drive can't capture it all.
Right.
Actually, what we see in a lot is not even using the USB drives. They're using actual little mini hard drives now because USB drives aren't big enough and they're heavy and they're bloated. So we can go on and on as the pain points of USB drives for sure.
Right. Okay. So you have a better solution. It is called Genetec Clearance.
Yes, yeah. So Genetec Clearance is a cloud-based hosted solution developed from the ground up by Genetec. It's over 5 years old. It's really matured into a really robust product. And what it solves is in the category digital evidence management solutions.
Right.
So historically we talked about the USB drives being a supplement to an incident management system. So most organizations are utilizing some sort of incident management system. If you're a PD, you're utilizing computer-aided dispatch or records management system. Those native incident management applications really aren't built to handle the robust amount of digital evidence that goes along with an incident. Sometimes you can add a photo, you can add maybe a small clip here and there, but as we talked about, the vast amount of digital evidence now becomes a pain point, and that associating the USB drive to an actual case becomes clunky and it becomes a bit of a challenge for retention and things like that. So really what Clearance is set out to do is really supplement those systems as a true digital evidence archive for all of that digital media.
Cool. So come show us how it works. So let me see if this is going to add. There we go. Okay. All right. So the first thing is like you said, you got, something happens, you've got a bunch of assets. How would you go about gathering?
Yeah, so the first thing that really Genetec and Clearance has done an amazing job is provided such an easy component to add all the different ways you can collect digital evidence. So kind of to highlight some of them, any of our existing Genetec Security Center customers, this screen should look somewhat familiar. That you can now simply just right click right on a playback of a tile and send evidence to Clearance. So this would actually send the associated video right to Clearance. So that's one method we can send evidence to Clearance. We also have the ability through a mobile app. So maybe you're a field investigator and you need to be
Mm-hmm.
able to, send directly from your cell phone video. This is just a little snippet you're seeing here on the screen, but I can send any type of media from my media library on my mobile device directly to Clearance. We also have the ability through like a browser extension. So an example of that is maybe you're investigating like a laptop theft, and now you're on
Mm-hmm.
Facebook Marketplace and you see somebody's posted that's stolen property.
That's my laptop.
Wouldn't it be nice to be able to just capture it right from here into there without having to do a snippet and then upload and email yourself,
Uh-huh.
and sort of the clunky ways of how to get it from sort of this investigation. So right here from our simple browser extension, um, we
Drag and
also
drop.
yeah, we also support directly from body worn cameras. So we have the support of some of the leaders in the open architecture body worn camera space. So now we can have that evidence go right from a body worn wearable directly into Clearance. We also have recently released what we're calling our Clearance Drive. So for anybody who's worked with like Microsoft OneDrive or Dropbox, you're probably very comfortable working with what we call the Windows Explorer shell extension. So what you're seeing here is traditional Windows Explorer file. I have my Clearance, and over here are all my cases. So when you're dealing with large files, like so for maybe you're a prosecutor, district attorney's
Mm-hmm.
office, and you're doing a cell phone extraction, these files can be in the gigabytes, if not the terabytes. Very simple drag and drop, and able to use modern sort of Windows frameworks to push
Mm-hmm.
that video file very quickly. So this making it that much easier to get
Right.
our evidence into a case. We also support it right through the actual web app. So open up the web app here. So this is the actual Clearance web app you're seeing. I'm going to open up an example case I have here created for today. Over here on the right hand side is where I can simply now drag and drop video files to.
Mm-hmm.
So I can literally just come from my Windows Explorer screen, and I
Nice.
can simply drag and drop this right into there. And just like that, we can
Neat.
upload the
Cool.
media.
All right.
Um,
What about if you don't have access to the footage? It's not on Facebook Marketplace. You don't have any security cameras. You are not given it, and you have to request it from a third party.
that's a
Tip,
that's a
yeah. Like, how do you go about doing that clumsy way? And how does Clearance make it better?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a common challenge for this could be an investigator dealing with, say, maybe eyewitness video from a cell phone.
Mm,
This could be like third-party retail that have security cameras that we want to associate with the case. There's all sorts of scenarios where you need to basically get video sort of outside of your domain into the
right.
system. So what Genetec has provided is a very easy way to we can do what we call a file request.
Hmm.
So right here through the interface, I can click on file request. I can create a request for the video. What I'm more essentially doing is I'm creating a link here. So this is going to be sample cell phone video. So we simply put our request in here to get the cell phone video. We create the request. And what this has
Mm-hmm.
done now is it's created a link. I can now email this link out to who I'm requesting the video for, and now right from their cell phone, from their computer, from their web application, they can now associate that third party video right into Genetec. So this is an important component of
Nice.
the investigation.
Cool. Okay. So now that you have everything, okay, you got all your footage. You need to investigate it. So how do you go about doing that within this platform?
Yep. So now we've collected all of our digital evidence. Now we're sort of have our case management component. So what you're seeing here is a case that I've created for today. Just I've given it the name example case for Friday, but this would typically be on the lines of HR issue. This could be a
Right.
laptop theft. This could be whatever the scenario. So you give it a case title, right, that you'd expect. Down here, a record number, incident number. So here's where we can sort of co reference maybe the incident management system. So in the In the police department, you have things called a records management system. Every records management case is going to have a unique case. Here's how we can link those two, right? So we can go back and forth between the actual case management as supplementing
Hmm.
those existing systems. Going through the fields here, we have the ability to add a category. So categories define retention. So a lot of organizations, they don't typically have great SOPs and directives of how long do we actually
Mm,
store video. Most organizations will say, hey, we store all of our unstructured video for 30 days. But when we identify this video as part of an incident, and we identify this incident in a category, well, how long should we keep that? Maybe it's a injury on the workplace. Hey, for
right,
any sort of those type of injury, we keep that video for 4 years. So by automatically classifying the case here, you're going to define the actual retention in the cloud.
right.
Uh,
You connected it to your policies.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. And what we find is clearance actually helps drive policy development because
right,
a lot of organizations, they just haven't had to face these type of questions. So we're actually helping, innovate sort of directives and SOPs within the organization.
exactly.
Our department actually defines who has default permissions. So I have a couple examples here. Maybe this is related to a sensitive crime. So we have, by giving it a Montgomery County SV or Special Victims Unit, only now users within that Special Victims Units are going to have access to the
Uh-huh.
case. So we're defining
Right,
permissions right out of the gate without having
right,
to add additional steps to get there.
right,
So some basic sort of metadata regarding the incident start time. This is all now searchable after the fact. So show me incidents that occurred prior to August 25th. You can do this from a searching perspective. Add some basic description to the case. Add tags. So podcast demo. This is also Friday 15. So you can just add simple tags for searching.
right.
Locate this. So now you can actually locate the incident geographically. So you have spatial sort of awareness of where incidents are occurring.
It's
So all
basically it's like any way you want to manage this case, it's got the UX to do that for you.
absolutely, absolutely,
Yeah,
and most of these fields are all customizable too. So if there's a particular type of data type that you're trying to capture associated with a case, we can sort of build these forms. This is just the default form
right.
that
So,
works for most of our customers.
so one more point I want to ask about here with the way that you're showing us here. Sometimes, so you have the security operator has access to this, they can see it, they can do it. But sometimes there's somebody in your organization, or maybe not even in your organization, who needs to go in and see this in a defined way. So how do you go about like sharing this and working with this with the other people, other stakeholders?
That's a great question.
Yeah,
So I'm going to open up another example case I have created here, named this laptop theft case. So let's say I need to collaborate with another investigator. Maybe need to share this internal or external, right? Sometimes maybe outside the organization, inside the organization. Right from here, I can now invite somebody to have access to the case. So I can simply so I'll just remove, I can simply add a user. So I'm going to pick say myself here, add as a user. And you can see now I've added myself and you have some basic permissions. Should I be able to view only, which means I can't download anything out of the clearance case. I can view and download. I can download the files. I can edit. I can manage the sort of the metadata we talked about, or I can even
right,
manage additional permissions. So we have a real easy way, and they can even put a time parameter on that. You're going to have access to this for the next 30 days. So we can even control how long should they have access to the
right.
case. So
It,
so now that we've invited somebody, it's that same person that can now log into the case, and now they can look right at the sort of the case contents. And this is what I really love about it. One of the pain points that you find when you're sharing this type of digital evidence is it requires you to download special files to play the back.
right,
So what we allow to do, and if I open up a couple of video files here, you're going to be able to see that I can actually play this back directly through right through the clearance web app. So there's no
cool,
need to actually have a special player download the file. So I have the ability to play this right through the web interface.
nice,
We built this to support over 100 codecs, which basically mean that it doesn't necessarily need to be Genetec source video. We can work with iPhone video, Android video, other VMS video that's going to play natively right within the player without having to deal with, installing a special application
cool.
on an investigator's computer, all done right here through the case.
Right. So HR manager needs to investigate an incident. You send them, they do a request, you send them the link, they can see this and have the policies that you need for them to have. Very, very cool. So I want to just end off with some recommendations and resources. So what makes an organization clearance ready, so to speak? Who's a good candidate?
So It's a great question, Dean. I'd say any organization that is compounding digital evidence in an unstructured way. So
Hmm.
this could be, storing video out on, like, I'm just going to use like a network share. Like a lot of times you hear like the T drive. We put all the video on the T drive. This could be
Hmm.
like a dedicated workstation that maybe an investigator uses to download video. Anybody who's got file cabinets with CDs or USB
Right.
drives, right? So anybody who's collecting and compounding, even if you're not sharing it, but just the simple process of collecting it becomes very unstructured, it becomes unorganized, and it becomes a potential
Unwieldy.
liability. Yes,
Yes, unwieldy and liable. Yeah.
absolutely. So I would say any organization, whether you're obviously law enforcement, education, commercial, and
Healthcare.
healthcare, and you're finding yourselves, with this type of digital evidence,
Hmm.
not just video digital evidence, just digital evidence in general, you're a great candidate
Right.
for clearance.
Okay, so I want to finalize here with two links. Okay, the first one here, and you can QR it. This goes straight to the Genetec page where you can learn about Genetec, you can learn about Genetec clearance. And the next one is going to be a playlist for those who want to see YouTube videos galore on clearance. It's all there for you. So, Bob, thank you so much for joining us and wish you all a good weekend. And I will see you next time.
Thanks for having me.